Chapter 4. What Books and Burials Tell Us. Mary in the library. As the bell rang, the teacher asked the students to follow him. Because they were going to the library for the first time, when Mary stepped inside, she found that the library was much larger than their classroom, and there were so many shelves, all full of books. In one corner was a cupboard filled with large old volumes. Seeing her trying to open the cupboard, the teacher said, "That cupboard has a very special books on different religions. Do you know what we have? A set of Vedas." What are the Vedas? Mary wondered. Let us find out. One of the oldest books in the world. You may have heard about the Vedas. There are four of them: the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. The oldest Veda is the Rig Veda, composed of about 3,500 years ago. The Rig Veda includes more than 1,000 hymns called Sukta, or well said. These hymns are in praise of various gods and goddesses. Three gods are especially important: Agni, the god of fire; Indra, the warrior god; and Soma, a plant from which special drink was prepared. The hymns were composed by sages or rishis. Priests taught students how to recite and memorize each syllable, word, and sentences bit by bit with great care. Most of the hymns were composed, taught, and learned by men. A few were composed by women. The Rig Veda is in Old or Vedic Sanskrit, which is different from the Sanskrit you learn in school these days. Sanskrit and other languages. Sanskrit is a part of family of language known as Indo-European. Some Indian languages such as Assamese, Gujarati, Hindi, Kashmiri, and Sindhi. Asian languages such as Persian, and many European languages such as English, French, German, Greek, Italian, and Spanish belong to this family. They are called a family because they originally had words in common. Take the word Matra, Sanskrit, Ma, Hindi, and Mother, English. Do you notice any similarities? Other languages used in the subcontinent belong to the different families. For instance, those used in the northeast belong to the Tibeto-Burman family. Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayali belong to the Dravidian family, and the languages spoken in Jharkhand and the parts of central India belong to Austro-Asiatic family. List the languages you have heard about and try and identify the families to which they belong. The books we use are written and printed. The Rig Veda was recited and heard rather than read. It was written down several centuries after it was first composed and printed less than 200 years ago. How historians study Rig Veda? Historians, like archaeologists, find about the past, but in addition to materials remains, they examine written sources as well. Let us see how they study the Rig Veda. Some of the hymns in the Rig Veda are in the form of dialogue, which is a part of one such hymn, a dialogue between the sage named Vishwamitra and two rivers, Beas and Sutlej, that were worshipped as goddesses. Vishwamitra and the rivers. Vishwamitra: O rivers, come down to the mountains like the two swift horses, like you, two shining cows that lick their calves. You move like chariots to the sea through the power of Indra. You are full of water and wish to unite with one another. The river: we, who are full of water, move along the path of gods have made for us. Once we start flowing, we cannot be stopped. Why do you pray to us, O sage? Vishwamitra: O sisters, please listen to me. The singer who has come from a distance with his chariots and carts, let your water not rise above your axles, so that we can cross safely. The rivers: we will listen to your prayers so that you can cross safely. Historians point out that this hymn was composed in the area where these rivers flow. They also suggest that the sage lived in a society where horses and cows were valued animals. That is why rivers are compared to the horses and cows. Do you think chariots were also important? Give reasons for your answer. Read the verses and find out about what are the modes of transport that are mentioned. Other rivers, especially Indus and its tributaries and the Saraswati, are also named in the hymns. Ganga and Yamuna are named only once. Cattle, horses, and chariots. These are many prayers in the Rig Veda for cattle, children, especially sons, and horses. Horses were yoked to chariots that were used in battles which were fought to capture cattle. Battles were also fought for land, which was important for pasture and for growing hardy crops that ripened quickly, such as barley. Some battles were fought for water and to capture people. Some of the wealth that was obtained and kept by the leaders, some was given to the priests, and the rest was distributed among the people. Some wealth was used for the performance of yajnas or sacrifices in which offerings were made into the fire. These were meant for gods and goddesses. Offering could include ghee, grain, and in some cases animals. Most men took part in these wars. These were no regular army, but there was assemblies where people met and discussed matters of war and peace. They also chose leaders who were often brave and skillful warriors. Words to describe people. There are several ways of describing people in terms of work they do, the language they speak, and the place they belong to, their family, the communities, and cultural practices. Let us see some of the words used to describe people found in the Rig Veda. There are two groups of people who are described in the terms of their work: the priest, sometimes called Brahmins, who performed various rituals, and the Rajas. The Rajas were not like the ones you will be learning about later. They did not have capital cities, palaces, or armies, nor did they collect taxes. Generally, sons did not automatically succeed fathers as Rajas. Two words were used to describe the people of the community as a whole. One was the word Jana, which we still used in Hindi and other languages. The other was Vish. The word Vaishya comes from Vish. You will learn more about this in chapter 5. Several Vish or Jana are mentioned by the name. So we find reference to the Puru Jana or Vish, the Bharata Jana or Vish, the Yadu Jana or Vish, and so on. Sometimes the people who composed the hymns described themselves as Aryas and called their opponents Dasas or Dasyus. These were people who did not perform sacrifices and probably spoke different languages. Later, the term Dasa and the feminine Dasi came to mean slave. Slaves are women and men who were often captured in the war. They were treated as the property of their owners, who could make them do whatever work they wanted. While the Rig Veda was being composed in the northwest of the subcontinent, there were other developments elsewhere. Let us look at some of these. Silent Sentinels, the story of the megaliths. Look at the illustrations on the next page. The stone boulders are known as megaliths, literally big stones. These were carefully arranged by people and were used to mark burial sites. The practice of erecting megaliths began about 3000 years ago and was prevalent throughout the Deccan, South India, and in Northeast and Kashmir. Some important megalith sites are shown on map 2. While some megaliths can be seen on the surface, other megalithic burials are often underground. Sometimes archaeologists find a circle of stones boulder or a single large stone standing on the ground. These are the only indications that there are burials beneath. All these burials have some common feature. Generally, the dead were buried with distinctive pots, which are called black and red ware. Also found are tools and weapons of iron and sometimes skeletons of horses, horse equipments, and ornaments of stone and gold. Finding out about social differences. Archaeologists think that the objects found with the skeleton probably belong to the dead person. Sometimes more objects are found in one's grave than in another. Find Brahmagiri on map 2. Here are one skeleton was buried with 33 gold beads and 2 stone beads, 4 copper bangles, and 1 conch shell. Other skeletons have only a few pots. These finds suggest that there was some differences in the status among the people who were buried. Some were rich, others poor, some chiefs and other followers. Were some burial spots meant for certain families? Sometimes megaliths contain more than one skeleton. These indicate that the people, perhaps belonging to the same family, were buried in the same place, though not at the same time. The bodies of those who died later were brought into the grave through the portholes, stone circles, or boulders placed on the surface probably served as signposts to find the burial sites, so that people could return to the same place whenever they wanted to. A special burial at Inamgao. Find Inamgao on map 2. It is a site on the river Ghor, a tributary of the Bhima. It was occupied between 3600 and 2700 years ago. Here, adults were generally buried in the ground, laid out straight, with the head towards the north. Sometimes burials were within the houses. Vessels that probably contained food and water were placed on the dead. One man was found buried in a large four-legged clay jar in the courtyard of a 5-roomed house, one of the largest houses at the site in the center of the settlement. This house also had a granary. The body was placed in cross-legged position. What skeletal studies tell us? It is easy to make out skeletals of a child from its small size. However, there was no major differences in the bones of a girl and a boy. Can we make out whether a skeleton was that of a man or a woman? Sometimes people decide on the basis of what is found with the skeleton. For instance, if a skeleton is found with a jewelry, it is sometimes thought to be that of a woman. However, there are problems with this. Often, men also wore ornaments. A better way of figuring out sex of a skeleton is to look at the bone structure. The hip of the pelvic area of women is generally larger to enable childbearing. These distinctions are based on modern skeletal studies. About 2000 years ago, there was a famous physician named Charaka who wrote a book on medicine known as Charaka Samhita. There he stated that the human body has 360 bones. This is much larger number than the 200 bones that are recognized in the modern anatomy. Charaka arrived at the figure by counting the teeth, joints and cartilage. Occupations at Imamgao. Archaeologists have found seeds of wheat, barley, rice, pulses, millets, peas and sesame. The bones of number of animals, many bearing cut marks that show they may have been used as food, have also been found. These include cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, dog, horse, ass, pig, sambar, spotted deer, black buck, antelope, hare and mongoose. Besides birds, crocodiles, turtle, crab and fish. There is evidence that fruits such as bear, amla, jamun, dates and a variety of berries were collected. Elsewhere. Find China in your atlas. Around 3500 years ago, we find some of the first evidence of writings in China. These writings were on animal bones. These are called oracle bones because they were used to predict the future. Kings got scribes to write questions on the bones. Would they win battles? Would the harvest be good? Would they have sun? The bones were then put into fire and they cracked because of heat. The fortune teller studied these cracks and tried to predict the future. As you may expect, they sometimes made mistakes. These kings lived in a palace in cities. They amassed vast quantities of wealth, including large elaborately decorated bronze vessels. However, they did not know the use of iron.